Hi guys, I just thought I'd talk you through a little bit of what we're going to be covering today. The last day I got you to look at the Sunningdale Agreement, which if you're looking for it in your OneNote guys, in number 5, direct rule for Northern Ireland, down at the bottom, you'll find plenty about Sunningdale there. It's a case study, so it's really, really important. Now, Sunningdale failed. It failed because many unionists essentially went on strike and brought the country to a standstill. This chapter is looking at direct rule continues. So it's number 6 in your OneNote, guys. We go into your Northern Ireland tab. In OneNote, it's number 6. And direct rule means London ruling Northern Ireland, that there was no parliament in Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland could be trusted with its own parliament, and that Westminster or London would control affairs in Northern Ireland. Now, obviously, this chapter, you can tell by the picture, links mainly to that woman in the picture. Many of you will know her. She's Margaret Thatcher, torn aside of some Republicans, particularly during the 80s. We're going to have a look at what this chapter looks at, guys. Now, we're not going to get it all done today, but because you'll be sick and tired of listening to me, but we'll get some of it done. Some of the key bits would be the hunger strike, for example, the start of the hunger strike, and the effect that had, and Bobby Sands getting elected as an MP. After Sunningdale had failed, it collapsed. The British government restored direct rule in Northern Ireland. Sunningdale was an attempt to have shared rule in Stormont, where the Northern Irish Parliament would be a mix of Catholics and Protestants, Republicans and Unionists. It failed. So the British government brought back in direct rule then in Northern Ireland. And whenever that happens, the Secretary of State, so that's a British person, someone from the British government, they're put in charge. So the British person put in charge is Northern Irish Secretary of State. At this time, his name is called Merlin Rees. So he essentially is in control of the day-to-day running of Northern Ireland. Now, after Sunningdale collapsed, there's a new Labour government under a man called Harold Wilson. You can see him on there on the left-hand side. They preferred power sharing. Labour has generally been more open to the idea of power sharing, so Northern Ireland looking after itself, essentially. But every attempt to restore power sharing was unsuccessful, mainly because of staunch unionists. They were completely against it. They didn't want to give up the power they've had since the 1920s by sharing power with Republicans. And you look at the bottom, main opposition, so unionists and loyalists, strong, staunch unionists, so men like Ian Paisley. But also Republican paramilitary, so groups, supporters of the IRA were against this because they felt that would just be an obstacle in the way of a 32-county Ireland. So in October 1974, the anti-power sharing United Ulster Unionist Council, I know you get a lot of these, the UUC, won 10 of the 12 seats in Westminster. So there was elections for Westminster Parliament, and Northern Ireland get to vote for that. And most of the seats were won by people who were anti-power sharing, which kind of proved for the majority of people in Northern Ireland that were against power sharing, against the Sunningdale Agreement. If you look at the poster down there, it's one of their posters, you can't have it both ways. So their idea is the Council of Ireland, which is a key part of the Sunningdale Agreement. If you want that, you're going to lose your British heritage. So it's one or the other. In 1975, the British government set up an elected convention in the hope of restoring power sharing. And they had a vote for it. You can see unionists opposed to power sharing was 47. Pro-power sharing unionists 5. And the Alliance Party, or an in-between party, got 8. SDLP, who are the Catholic Party, got 17. And the Northern Irish Labour Party got 1. Basically, if you add up, most of the people who got elected were against power sharing, so it meant it was doomed to failure. And the convention never took off, and basically, for the next number of years, the British government admitted we can't get power sharing. It's just not going to happen. There's too many people against it. And just to make things worse, there's an economic failure in Northern Ireland. Remember, Northern Ireland is essentially a war zone. The Troubles are on at this time, so it's hard to get jobs. So there's serious economic problems in Northern Ireland. Between 73 and 79, which is 6 years, their economy only grew by 2%, which is tiny. Basically, no growth, essentially. And most growth was only due to subsidies from the British government. The British government was supporting Northern Ireland to billions a year. If they didn't give that, Northern Ireland would collapse as a country. 1973 was the peak for people employed in the manufacturing industry. Then numbers began to fall. So even if we have a look here, there's some of the bigger industries, and compare the amount of people employed in them in 1979 to 1986, you see a big drop in all of them, particularly textiles, a massive drop in that, but some big industries and a lot of people losing their jobs. An oil crisis in the 1970s due to war in the Middle East had a big impact on Northern Ireland and led to massive increases in the price of oil. Their economy was damaged, obviously, by political unrest and violence, by continuous bombings happening at the time. Sustained bombing campaigns by both Republican and loyalist paramilitaries, the UVF, the IRA, etc., resulted in massive destructions of factories, homes, etc. There's widespread violence, which discourages, obviously, if you're a foreign company and you see the violence that's happening in Northern Ireland, you don't want to set up your company there. And it would become very, very difficult to set up companies in Northern Ireland. They just couldn't get foreign industry to set up there. They did get one company that some of you might know. If you ever heard of DeLorean, is named the company. If you ever watched Back to the Future, the car from that, they were made in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. They're an exception. They're a foreign company that actually came into Northern Ireland during the Troubles, but most avoided it like the plague, didn't go near it. Unemployment among Catholics was very high, much higher than Protestants. In fact, as a Catholic, you're 3 times more likely to be unemployed as a Protestant. In 1976, the British government, the British Parliament, passed the Fair Employment Act. What this meant is that it's illegal to discriminate on the basis of a person's religion or politics. So you can't discriminate. You cannot not give a person a job because they're a Catholic. You can't ask a person in an interview if they're a Catholic. And it still took a while. It didn't really work too much in Northern Ireland because I've mentioned it to you before in class. There was ways around it. The obvious way around it for in interviews was for the employer to simply ask, what school did you go to? If you tell them the school you go to, straight away they can work out if you're Catholic or Protestant, and usually by that they'll determine whether to give you the job or not. The Troubles also had a serious impact on the housing situation. By 1976, 25,000 houses had been destroyed or damaged in Belfast alone. So many Catholic areas, you can see a whole row of houses there after being burnt out. In 1971, the Northern Ireland Housing Executive was established and faced many problems. There were huge population movements during the Troubles as Catholics and Protestants were forced to flee their homes. So communities became more polarised. So if you were looking at a map down here on the bottom left hand side, you'll see 2 areas. So you have a staunchly Protestant area and a staunchly Catholic area. We'd have barely anyone from the other side living. So even though they're next to each other, in Belfast you have the Lower Shankill. You can see there's all that area in orange. There, that's all Protestant. But right next to it, there's only a road separating it, is the Lower Falls Road. And the Falls Road is all Catholic. And basically, during the Troubles, any Catholics that were living in Shankill, many of them would have been threatened, would have been bombed out of their homes, they'd move to the Lower Falls, and same for Protestants. And you have what becomes polarised, a staunchly Protestant area and staunchly Catholic areas. And it's still like that today in Northern Ireland. You don't have much mixing between the two. So the Long War, which is basically the IRA's Long War. With the failure of the Sunningdale Agreement in 1973 and the Convention, which also failed in 1975, the British government started to focus on defeating and trying to wipe out the IRA. Now, the IRA were a new organisation at this time. They only really came about in the early 1970s in their current form, the provisional IRA form. But they grew very, very quickly. So events like Bloody Sunday got many, many youngsters to join up with them. And some horrific things started to happen. So, for example, the British ambassador Christopher Ewart Biggs was assassinated in Dublin in 1976. Now, if you do go into YouTube, guys, sorry, the screen has cut this off at the edge, so we're not going to be able to see all this. The assassination of Christopher Ewart Biggs. We can enter one here that's about 44 seconds long. But that gives you a video of him being assassinated. So he was the British ambassador to Ireland, actually quite a respected man in Ireland, but he only started his job when he was assassinated. See by the crater that's left there, it did horrific damage, and it kind of showed to the British the power that the IRA actually had. In fact, his wife played a big role in actually bringing about peace in Northern Ireland after his assassination. Then if we look at the bottom there, you have a growth, and a lot of IRA members were locked up at this point. So a group of IRA members in Long Kesh prison. So Long Kesh was later become the Maze prison, was where most of the IRA members were, including Gerry Adams, who was starting to make his name at this point. And they concluded that the struggle to achieve Irish unity was going to be long and slow, that it wasn't going to be an overnight thing. The IRA was restructured at this time in a sense that members would stay apart. There would only be a few members together to reduce the risk of infiltration, because there was informers trying to basically get into the group. The IRA activities came under control of the Northern Command, consisting of young IRA members. They also decided at this time to build up Sinn Féin, which was the political wing of the IRA, who were tiny at this time. And the idea was, and it would become their catchphrase around this time, was that they would have a bomb in one hand and a voting slip in the other hand. That was the way the IRA wanted to go forward. In the mid-1970s, violence was a way of life in many working class areas of Northern Ireland. It was horrific things were happening, and very much a tit-for-tat attacks in Northern Ireland. So a Catholic would be killed one night, a Protestant would be killed the next night, etc. In the winter of 1975 and 76, a gang of UVF members called the Shankill Butchers roamed the streets, literally picking up Catholics that they could see, kidnapping them and torturing them. The clues in the name being called the Butchers, they did horrific things using cleavers, axes, etc. The leader of them was there, a man called Lenny Murphy, even though a very Irish name, Murphy. He was a Protestant. He's the leader of the Butchers, also feared in Protestant areas as he shot anybody who quarrelled with him. Now, just to show you guys at this time that there was groups who were pushing to try and bring peace to Northern Ireland. So the peace movement was founded by this is a group led by two women, so a Protestant woman and a Catholic woman. So the Protestant Betty Williams and a Catholic Mairead Corrigan. Williams had witnessed Corrigan's sister being injured and 3 of her 4 children being killed when a gunman's getaway car crashed into them. The peace people, because the idea of this group was to show that not everyone in Northern Ireland was agreeing with this paramilitary groups doing horrific attacks. They attracted widespread cross-community support, with 20,000 attending their rallies. However, in a deeply divided society, the movement unfortunately made very little difference. Now, we had a new Secretary of State in Northern Ireland. Unfortunately, went through a lot of Secretary of States, and a new one was employed at this time called Roy Mason. You can see him there in the picture. And he was determined to push forward this idea of destroying the IRA. He made very strong speeches where he supported law and order and condemned Republicans. Now, that's never a good move, because you're basically writing off half the community by doing that. And he became very popular with Unionists, but was incredibly unpopular with Nationalists, because they felt like you can't just dismiss what the IRA are doing horrific things. You can't just dismiss what their supporters want. He faced accusations of turning a blind eye to the brutality by the British Army, the RUC, who were doing pretty horrific things at this time too. And he refused to take action over the brutality of the RUC interrogated against IRA suspects. A few months before his arrival in Northern Ireland, the British government had ended the special category status for paramilitary prisoners. This is going to become important in a minute, guys. Up till this point, Unionists or Catholics and Protestants who were arrested but were members of paramilitary groups were given special category status, so they're treated as political prisoners. Now, under this, that would mean that they only get certain rights. They get to make a few more phone calls than regular prisoners. The key thing for them is to get to wear their own clothes, and they get to have a few more visitors. That was it. But that was taken away from them. And this started the step 1 towards the hunger strikes, the prison protests. So the abolition of the special category status met with immediate response by the IRA prisoners in the Maze prison. So this used to be Long Kesh, and you can see it's also called H Block. It'll become the H Block hunger strike later on. The Maze prison. So the IRA members here started to protest against their political status being taken away. The first thing they did was they refused to wear prison clothes, and instead wore their blankets that they would sleep in and wore them as their clothes. By 1977, over 150 political prisoners were taking part in a blanket protest. So they didn't go straight to a hunger protest, because obviously a hunger protest is very, very extreme. So they started with a blanket protest, and it's not very nice here, guys, where they go next. This failed, obviously they got nowhere with that. Then they began their dirty protests. So they spread their toilet waste, essentially, on the walls of their cells. Again, it got them publicity, but it didn't really get them anywhere. Mason ignored the protests and was encouraged by declining levels of violence in 1977 and 78. So the violence did start to drop, but it was dropping from a very high point in the early 70s. It was horrific, the attacks that were happening. His tough approach towards the IRA appealed to Unionists, but left Nationalists feeling very much alienated. He left office in 1979 and after the Labour government was defeated, and issues with the prisoners remained unresolved. And Labour tend to be more open to working with Republicans. for the next number of years, next 12 years, I think 15 years actually, I think it's the Conservatives who are in power. And Margaret Thatcher, known as the Iron Lady because she was such a tough woman who refused to compromise. Margaret Thatcher in 1979 won the general election in Great Britain, and she referred to herself as a unionist. That's her party is called the Conservative Unionist Party, and she refers to herself as a unionist. Now, in tomorrow's class, guys, we might go into a bit more depth on Margaret Thatcher. Now, in your calendar, guys, you're also going to see I've attached a handout. I'm going to put up a little bit here now. A bit of it will be cut out because unfortunately the whole screen isn't getting recorded on this. But it's in your calendar, and it concerns the IRA and the hunger strikes, and it just gets this started a little bit. So what I might get you to do, guys, is the first 4 points, the first 5 points actually, will make sense for you here. So the IRA splits, the Provost, leadership changes, and the Hates Block campaign. It just brings us towards the hunger strikes, which we'll be doing more so in tomorrow's class. Again, guys, any questions, send me an email, but try and stick to this as much as you can, guys, because obviously this is a topic we haven't covered yet, okay? And speak to you soon, guys.